Hello and welcome to this week's Material Musings. So we've got some really nice projects that we're going to be looking at, some of which you're familiar with, but we're looking at additional things that we can do. So we're looking at some kawandis, we're looking at the lovely vessel and some interesting ways in which you can decorate it even further. And we're looking at something called Kinu Saigo. I had to look at the word. It's a Japanese type of it's not stitching. It doesn't use any stitching, but you're using fabric scraps or small bits of fabric. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that. We're also looking at the larger kawandi, and we're going to be selecting the fabric for that. It's always nice to go through what fabric that you have every now and again. It's good not only just to refresh your mind, but it also airs out the fabric and, you know, gives them a breather. They might like say, hey, use me, you know, I'm, you know, nice and vibrant. And we'll also very briefly look at what I call a catch-all. It's with my beads and embellishments, and it's usually a space or a container where everything goes where you haven't yet tidied up or put them back in their original containers. So without further ado, let's get on and look at some of these fabrics. Okay, so here we have all the potential kawandis. And what I was thinking about doing was adding some beading. So I want to just touch on that. And this isn't a kawandi, but I did it in the same kind of style. This is something that I'd worked on a while back, and it's using all of the scraps. Yeah, all of my scraps. And so this then reminds you that if you have the feeling of, no, I can't throw that away, you're saying that for a good reason. Because had I thrown those bits away, I wouldn't have this. Yeah, and it's made the most out of the supplies that I have. The other thing I did was I just put a cardboard base. So I've just cut out a piece of cardboard from a milk carton box, and it means now that it can stand up. But what I wanted to do with this, I had mentioned adding some sort of beading to it and embellishing it even more. And maybe even, as I'm looking at this top now, where I did this, what's that stitch called? No, it's not overlocking, but anyway, if you let's come in and then you can see and then you'll know. But it's good for finishing off kind of like edges. So that's what I did. So yeah, I'm thinking of some beading, and then let's have a look at the others. So this is the latest one I did. I was going to work on a bigger one, but I thought, let me just wet my feet a bit, and I've incorporated printed fabric and then dyed fabric. So these pieces actually I'm quite pleased with, because they were, I took some henna leaves and I mashed them up, processed them, and I dyed this piece of fabric, and it was just like, I have to use it. And then these are just other painted fabrics. Well, this one, I wanted to mainly use this, but then found, you know, okay, it's not big enough. And this is a handkerchief. That one got a little bit attached to the end, but it's a handkerchief. That's a little pattern there. And that's the back. But in terms of the kawandi, this is the front. I don't make the traditional ones where it's got the elements at either end. So this is a version, but I've done it in a similar style. So let's see the others that I've made. I'm just having to keep reminding myself. And I think it's good to kind of like look at how far you've come. So this, I think, was my first. Was it my first? Or was it second? I've done so many now. So anyway, I think this was the second one that I did. I was feeling, for my first one, which I'll show you, I was feeling a bit more very, what's that word, adventurous. And it was just like, yes, of course, I can do a kawandi. But I'm still learning, so that's why I had, you know, taken these. This is another handkerchief. And if you do have, I think I've probably got another couple hanging around. A couple are, and these are all vintage. The one that my dad used to get packets of them, the cotton handkerchiefs. And I think I've got one of his with it's got K for his name, Kenneth. So on this one, yeah, we've again got some printed fabric, but the rest of it, and these two are pre-printed, but the rest of it is fabric that I painted myself. And again, they're small pieces, so think about the scraps, the fabric scraps that you have, and you might not necessarily want to make a kawandi, but there are so many other things that you can do with them. And so this, yeah, was the first one. I'll have to come out even more there, and we've got the sunlight coming in. Yeah, so this, let's see which way it goes. I think this is the way that I'd done it, and it has just been made from fabric that I have dyed, wax resist, avocado pit dyed. I've got another avocado, so I shall be doing some more dyeing with the avocado, dyeing with terracotta clay, with ordinary clay from my garden, conventional dyes. These ones are conventionally dyed, and then stamped, stenciled. Yeah, so you can build it. And this section I had done previously and stitched it, and then thought I'd love to be able to use it in the middle. So at the back it doesn't traditionally look like a kawandi in terms of all of the available, but I then went round and did loose stitches, so whilst it didn't go through the other end, I made sure that, I mean, this lifts up, but it doesn't matter. If I frame it, then it should be fine. So therefore I have made 3 so far, and I was going to make a larger one. And then, as I say, this vessel was done in a similar style, but it's taking a strip of fabric, taking a circle, putting them together, and then you've got a vessel. And you can, you know, stitch it or whatever. But I actually like stitching round. You know, I was just getting the fabric and then stitching. So I hadn't stitched it on the flat, but I'll see how that feels actually. And it's similar to the kawandi, but with the kawandi, the folding of the sides and just making sure that they line up, because for some of them it was just like, I think it might have been for this one, you know, there's like bits like this. So again, just kind of working it and practicing so that you can make sure that it sits the way that you want it to sit. But as I say, I really do like working on them. And this one is the one that's going to be next, and it's the biggest one that I've done. So and this one has been avocado pit dyed, and so that will be the back So I'll work on this with the fabric. Now I'm not sure whether to add a bit in the middle. It's going to be quite heavy anyway, so we'll see. Traditionally it's made using, like, you know, sari fabrics and other old, you know, fabrics that the individuals, the Sidi women may have. Sidi, S-I-D-D-I. So I was going to look at what fabrics I wanted to include, and then we'll go on to look at some of the beading, and I just wanted to talk just briefly about that. So I've got a selection of African fabrics, and I was thinking I might do that. This is this is all the same. So in here, when I've used some of the fabric, all the small bits have gone in here. So what I'm going to do is maybe I'll show you some of them, and we'll pull out some bits that I'm thinking I might use. Now, I like this. This is just a strip of fabric that I came across. So maybe I'll cut that. So I'll just gather some of the fabric and let you see some of it. So these I've been collecting over the years. Some of them are like at least, gosh, 20, yeah, a good 20, 30 years. Let me see. These ones for sure. Yeah, I've had them that long. And just, you know, I think previously wanted to make clothes, make my own, like, you know, garments. But I've made a few things here and there. So I'm just going to take, not the small scraps. These will probably need to go in the small scraps bag. So I had this kind of bag for any, this is for the smaller bits of fabric, but they're too large to be called a scrap, so I've kept them in here. So I think we'll use this. I'm as I said, with the should I put something in between, I don't think I will. I mean, it's not a traditional quilt, so traditional Kawandi rather, so I think I could get away with there not being anything in the middle. I'm liking this bit, so I want to include that, and then we might just need to have two bits, so that's that one. And then these ones I brought from the market, and again was going to make a variety of things and have used it in different projects. So yeah, it's bringing back some memories, or that, you know, like I remember buying it and then being excited about making something. This one's got a nice little butterfly on it, so I might make a feature of that. I won't cut it yet. This is a favourite, this particular one, and I've used this in a few projects, so maybe I'll use this bit. And I even like that bit. I like all three, so maybe we will use, I think that might be, I don't think it's the last of that, but who knows. So I'm just going to take, yeah, a piece from each bag and then see how we get on. so I've selected the fabrics and I've cut them roughly about the same size. They're not all the same size. And I would just kind of like do a rough, let's see how it looks across, or how much more material do I need. So I'll do all the square bits. So just check, I mean obviously it's not going to be that large a space because they're folded over, but I just really wanted to get kind of like an idea of the fabrics that I'm using and how much will I need. So that's filled up half, and I was using larger pieces, so I wanted to make sure that I'm not having two of the same beside each other, because I liked this particular fabric quite a lot. So roughly I think we probably got, yeah, enough, and I may or may not get to use that, but that's fine. So these are the fabrics that I'm using. They're all like African print, and they're cotton, apart from this one, which is, I might leave this one. It's like it feels like it's got plastic in it. It's not cotton anyway, so we might lose that one, and then this one will definitely be able to fit in. Yeah, I'm trying to cut out as much of the man-made fabrics from the supplies. I mean obviously I have man-made fabric, so, and there would be like some kind of fabric mixes that you have as well. So right, okay, so I know the fabrics I'm using, and then I can just start that, and I will make a start this week. So hopefully next week you may, I'm not going to promise, because it's about so getting rid of man-made fabric and then taking out a plastic bag. But these are ones that I've had these for years. It's a wonder that they're not disintegrating, but they're probably a good quality bag that I had purchased for when I was doing my card making, but they come in handy now. So as a project, these going together, that just makes everything so much more easier to manage. And then I've got, so I'm going to put these away. I've got some loose, these have got to go away. I'm going to keep that with us. We'll keep those with us, and so that's what we're going to make next. Okay, and I'll probably just use a white thread to go round, and as I say, I'm not going to add anything in the middle because they're quite heavy, and I'm just kind of doing it like a wall hanging as opposed to a usable quilt, and it's too small to be a quilt anyway. Kawandi. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to, that's the dog, he's having a dream, he's barking in his dream. Okay, I wanted to look at some beading, but first I wanted to look at, I don't know whether you have it like sitting on your desk, like everything kind of box. So if you are doing any stitching or using embellishments, that they happen before you tidy up, they go into an everything's container. And I wanted to look through here and make the most of these things or put them away. So I wanted to just quickly look through and see if there were anything that I could potentially use on some of these, well, especially like this. So things like, you know, the wooden beads, smaller beads, found broken jewellery. Oh, these earrings aren't broken. So they're for non-pierced ears. So every now and again I might use them. Let's see, some other bits. Ooh, a nice ring. I like that. But that's not going to go on. Something like this. I've got more of these, so I could put something like this on. So it's just to encourage you. I'm not going to go through all of this right now. I'm not feeling it. But just to kind of encourage you to maybe, if you do have something like that on your desk, sometimes it's, rather than hunt through the hundreds and thousands of beads you've got, look in your everything container when you haven't been bothered to put things away and see if it doesn't have to be a few of, you know, loads of things. Like I've got this little charm, and then I've just realised I've got another one here. And it was going rusty, started to go rusty. Or the salt, there's some kind of deposit that's appearing, so that needs to be cleaned. And maybe just, you know, it might be that you end up, okay, let me just put things away, because there really isn't anything that I can see in here. Is anything piquing your fancy? Like I'm looking at these glass beads here. I was going to make earrings from them. It's not something I'm going to put on here, so I'm not going to use them. But anyway, so look through that. Give yourself a challenge to only use what's on your desk, and use up these things, or throw away what needs to be thrown away. You know, sometimes we're hanging on to stuff. This was something that I'd cut. I really don't need them, and maybe I can whittle down having 3 everything containers to just 1. And as I say, oh, I threw them away. You know, as I threw them away, I thought, oh, they could make stamps, but I'm not going to make stamps out of these. So, again, wherever you can recycle, recycle. And what's this? Keyring. Again, I really don't need 3, so I'm going to, another time, it's not for this time, but I'm going to go through it and just tidy it up. Stickers. Yeah, you know, you can just, it's like having these things and you really don't, you know, some of them you've not used or don't know what you're going to do with it. Or I've got some seeds in here. It's from my tree. People make jewellery from these. So you have to drill a fine hole, and they're very hard. But I have germinated these seeds, and you can actually, they're pulses, so you can, people use them as for jewellery, but you can also eat them. You soak them like you would overnight, any pulses, and then you boil it and cook it with your dish. I have yet to do that. Anyway, so I don't need to dig up in that. So your everything's container look in it and then see if you've got, or you might just need to commit, like, you know, just commit to putting that on, and you never know what else might build from it. So, and it's nice to reacquaint myself with it, because I can see what was in there, and I can, you know, potentially see what could be used in art journaling, or, you know, there may be some, like, we've got this was from a perfume coach, and this came with it, and I've kept it, but maybe that could go on here as well. Maybe I could surround this with just random stuff. It doesn't have to be, you know, all the beads the same, even though I do have more of these, but I'm not feeling that for here. But I like the idea of maybe something random around the edge. But again, I don't have to do that now. Perhaps I'm running from it. And you usually find that there's more than one of the things, like these beads. I'm feeling that there. Yeah, I'm feeling those. So maybe did you see them? They're just flat. I've got some stars in that shape as well. I've got some stars there. And again, that's one of the things I was thinking about these kawandis, like, you know, adding some sort of visual element, additional visual element to them. Purple beads that could be stitched in. Anyway, so the final thing that I wanted to show you is something that I'm experimenting with, and I was just like, well, why don't you show them when... Okay, so this is the art of Kinu Saigo. Okay, and apparently there's also an alternative called Kimi Koma. Yeah, it's Japanese. And this is fabric, and basically what you do is you have created an image, and then what happens is you take in the image you're creating fine cuts, and basically you're pressing the fabric in between. So this is my first attempt, so look it up. You'll see some really interesting and beautiful examples, and I'm just practicing. So this is a foam board. It's done on foam board, and yeah, I just thought I would have a play around, and that's just one of the things I enjoy, kind of like, you know, experimenting and playing. I've got time to experiment and play. I think you have to experiment and play so that you can see if it's a technique that you like or you want to do it further. But the reason why it grabbed my attention was because of all the scraps. Now, I've got bags of scraps and I want to use them up. I'm not... it's just like, I'm not throwing them away. And you do end up with even smaller scraps. It's ridiculous. But even then, even with these smaller scraps, what you can do is bundle them into something and stitch over them. That's what I've done. Like, put it flat on a surface, put another cloth over it, like a sheer organza, and then stitch it. And then you've trapped all of these fabric scraps. You know, things like this. It's just like, what have you got? But even that, there's something that you can do with that. But it's not to get kind of bogged down with all of these little fabric scraps. Is if you know what you're doing with them, that's fine. Then, you know, you shouldn't worry about it. But so I've got them so that I can experiment and I wanted to do my own version of this. I wanted to see what it's like. What they often do is they stick the fabric, so where say there's this shape, you would try and cut it to as close to the shape with bits on either side, because you're pushing the fabric in the gap, and then they would stick it down and then push. Yeah, but I haven't stuck any of these down at all. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, and I thought what I would do was just do a thin. Doesn't that ring look nice? It's cool, isn't it? I got it in a charity store, but it's so pretty. I don't really wear jewelry that much anymore, but I will for you guys. There we go. Anyway, so yeah, just playing about, practicing again, and seeing how I like it. There's a couple of others that I'm doing that I'm hoping to, you know, just practice even more, and it will again be another thing that I can do with my fabric scraps, alongside stitching them, as I said, or, you know, using them and making clusters, or, you know, putting them on card, putting random bits together, and just, you know, again, experimenting. So that's that one. So they're the kind of projects that I'm working on so far. It will be, so this one, the Kawandi, the larger Kawandi, this one, the Kinisaigo attempt, and looking at the Kawandis that I've done so far and seeing if I can, and this one, and seeing if I can find some jewelry bits and some interesting things out of my everything's container. If I can't in here, and if nothing kind of grabs me and makes me think, oh yeah, I really want to use that, then what I'll do is just go through my beads, and that's another little treat, being able to reconnect with the beads. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week in terms of your fabric projects or anything creative that you're going to do, and I look forward to seeing you soon.